Special welcome to Rabbi Stephen and Lori Kay, who are visiting from Denver. They are the parents of our own Rabbi Sam Kay, who's out there with Salah. And Rabbi Kay Sr., the original, will be teaching Torah tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, so everyone is welcome for a guest teacher. We're so glad you're here. Welcome. Last week, our own Rabbi Kay introduced us to this period of the 49 days, which link Pesach to Shavuot, the 49 days of the Omer, when we walk from the shores of the Red Sea to the foot of Mount Sinai. Each of the 7 weeks are assigned a theme, and each day of the week is assigned a theme, Rabbi Kay explained. And it happens that this is the week of Gevurah, of strength, and it happens that this is the day of Gevurah, of strength. And so there is this theme, this intersection of themes. There is an overlap and a reinforcement. From strength to strength, we say, Gevurah she b'Gevurah. That's the name of this day on this week of strength. And it is perfectly timed. Whether by chance and coincidence or by God's design, I do not know, but this Shabbat immediately before Yom HaShoah is when we need to muster our strength and to remember all that was lost. In Israel, Yom HaShoah is called Yom HaShoah v'Hagvurah, the day to commemorate the Holocaust and strength, bravery, power, courage, the Gevurah that was known not only by those who survived, but also by those who perished. There were remarkable acts, small and large, extraordinary acts of Gevurah, of strength and courage. So I want to invite everyone to join us this Monday evening at 7 p.m. Holy Blossom Temple is fortunate to be hosting the entire Jewish community of Toronto this year. The UJA and the Holocaust Education Center will be our partners. And this year is the 80th anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. So while there were many uprisings in hundreds of ghettos across Europe, the most famous among them, of course, was the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising in 1943. And Monday night we'll be blessed to have with us 2 Torontonians who are survivors of that uprising, Pinchas Guter and Irene Kurtz. And so we'll be able to hear just a bit of their story and what insights they have to share about what it is to be strong. And I want to encourage you to bring your children and your grandchildren with you. There won't be anything too frightening there for them, I promise. Only models of courage and strength and faith. And our children and grandchildren will be the last generation to be able to hear firsthand accounts from survivors. So it really is so important that they come and be with us. Just briefly, I'd like to highlight 2 examples of spiritual strength, Gevurah, and spiritual resistance that was known in the Warsaw Ghetto. I recently learned about a circle of about 60 people. In the ghetto, they called themselves Oyneg Shabbos, which is remarkable in and of itself. Oneg Shabbat is the joy of Shabbat, and they called their group, which met on Shabbat, the joy of Shabbat. So even there in the deepest darkness, they were able to mark sacred time and find joy in one another. From 1940 to 1943, this group called Oneg Shabbos would gather to decide how they would document the events that were taking place in the ghetto. Not only the extraordinary ruthlessness of the Nazis, but also the extraordinary, vibrant life that Jews were living there, nevertheless. And they put together a kind of archive which includes thousands of examples of what life was like there. It was a living archive, and they were very much aware that this treasure trove would one day speak to the future. One of the leaders of the group, Gustava Yareka, wrote this: "The record must be hurled like a stone under history's wheel in order to stop it. One can lose all hopes except the one hope, that the suffering and destruction of this war will make sense when they are looked at from a distance, from historical perspective." And so they got to work, and this archive includes hundreds of postcards and complex doorbell codes that were part of the resistance, and invitations to concerts and lectures, even a script of a ghetto comedy that was very popular entitled "Love Looks for an Apartment." There were restaurant menus, and also the final installment included a poster announcing the deportation. So you can read more about this group of the Oyneg Shabbos online and about the gift that they have given to history through their labors. And all they asked was to be remembered. One of them, Israel Lichtenstein, as he was burying his portion of the collection, and there were 3 portions, 2 of them were found, one of them has still not yet been found. When Israel Lichtenstein was burying his collection in a hurried way, he added, "I do not ask for any thanks, for any memorial, for any praise. I only wish to be remembered. I wish my wife to be remembered, Gila Zechstein, and I wish our little daughter to be remembered. Margalit is 20 months old today. She too deserves to be remembered." A great act of spiritual resistance to testify to Jewish life. And also in the Warsaw Ghetto, among the countless acts of spiritual resistance, there was the work of Rabbi Kalonymus Kalman Shapira, who lived in the ghetto and wrote his final work, his final manual for how to construct a sacred community. He was very interested in spiritual practice, not for everyone. He knew it wouldn't be for everyone, but for those who wanted in, he wanted a kind of how-to book. This is how we create a spiritual community. And he ended up hiding the manuscript in the walls of the ghetto with a cover letter that should anyone in the future find this manuscript, please bring it to Israel to be published. And it was. So I'll just share one excerpt with you. It's a remarkable little book that I believe all Jewish communal leaders should study, the how-to book to create sacred community. Our goal is to help you evolve from the level of a menial laborer in the house of God to the level of an intimate of the one God. An intimate of the one God. Your daily practice and devotion can draw you nearer to God. You will not labor blindly as menial tasks, but you will constantly develop an awareness of the presence of God in all that you do. We will not merely want to do the deeds that God has commanded, but to become God's vessels. We do not merely strive to perform sacred acts, but to become sacred beings. This transformation is our ultimate test. After each activity, look inward and say to yourself, I worked, I studied, I prayed. Now do I feel more refined? Do I feel more attuned? Now that I have opened myself up to holiness, do I feel at all elevated, liberated from the unending distractions of daily life? Have I created a hunger, a yearning for the heights, for the heights that I have achieved during my prayer. Is it something I long for? Is it something I miss? Is it real for me? Have I touched the beauty and loveliness of that world in a way that remains open to me now? So as we turn to conclude our own prayers tonight, I hope Rabbi Shapira's words will help us reflect on what we have created together tonight as a sacred community, and may we build on that strength within strength, gvura bigvura.